I have as my first guest Don Orange. He's going to talk a little bit about himself, and then we're going to talk about his campaign in Vancouver to get on the Board of Commissioners.
It's the Port of Vancouver
Port of
Board
Vancouver
of Commissioners. There's three commissioners, and I'm District 1.
All right. Well, I know that the fellow that's coming on second, we all had a little discussion earlier before the program, and it turns out that you have a green business of some kind.
I try to make it green. We operate it in as green a fashion as possible. We fix cars. And actually our cars are our number one polluting asset, and we try to help people make them as non-polluting as possible. We fix electric cars, we fix hybrid cars, we fix Chevy Suburbans and so on. And the better that they operate, the less polluting they are, and people work at other solutions to do that. But that's how I make my living. Is
everybody works on a solution, we'd have it done.
Well, India just decided that they're not going to have any gas-powered cars after 2030, that they're not going to sell any more gasoline-powered cars in that country. It's going to be either hydrogen or electric.
Or whatever comes along.
Well, this isn't Norway, and this isn't Denmark. This is one of the highest population countries in one of the most polluted places
I think it's a sixth of the world lives in the Indian subcontinent, something like that.
It's that big. The world's changing, and it's time for us to adapt to it. This issue that we're having in Vancouver is about building a terminal to bring incredible quantities of oil out to the Pacific Ocean. There is not a screaming need for this. There's a glut of oil around now, and if we put another 5 billion gallons a year out here into the market by endangering our Columbia River, by endangering Vancouver, and those of us who live in Portland and Vancouver know that we live in one of the most incredible places on earth. God didn't make two Columbia Gorges.
That's right.
And we don't have any business endangering that thing further in 2017, so we can get oil out onto the Pacific Ocean. We're told they're going to bring it back and sell it to California. California's working hard at getting off of oil. I believe that they're putting it on the Pacific Ocean so they can put it on the world market.
I understand it's going to China, but
they can, once they put it on the Pacific, they can put it wherever they want. The question is, what's the cost benefit for Vancouver? It's a threat to our community. It's a threat to our small businesses. It's a threat to our reputation. We are looking at becoming either clean energy people that are looking forward, or at becoming the new Gulf Coast. And today they propose a terminal. If they get that through, wouldn't it be logical to go after a refinery? And then if they get that through, wouldn't it be logical to be wanting to make fertilizer? And Vancouver's great for exporting grain. Vancouver's great for importing windmill parts, wind turbine parts for some of these, and that business is expanding and growing. If I've got my numbers right, Washington today just improved their solar package to where they'll help people putting solar on their homes and businesses more over the next few years. I have a solar array on my own business, and it's a good deal, and it didn't cost us a fortune. There's lots of things that we can do toward 21st century industry. The point that I'll make, we're sitting here talking about this oil terminal. It's where this oil terminal came from. It was a backroom deal. The oil company came in and met with the commissioners after some sideways meetings before that, between the director and each of the commissioners.
That's the commissioners you're wanting to
Yeah,
become one.
yes. I'm looking to replace a commissioner that was in on that. The Supreme Court unanimously said that the deal that they made was illegal, that we own the ports in Washington. Uniquely, our port commissioners are democratically elected. We're supposed to serve the community, and not serve the corporations, but serve the community. And the community has a right to know what's going on, and we don't have any business making deals behind closed doors with big corporations. This deal was set before the people in Vancouver knew it was coming, before the city council knew it was coming. So a large part of what my campaign is about, it's about making the decisions in the open.
Transparency.
Yeah, well, in Vancouver, we all pay, I pay, and every homeowner in Vancouver and all, we all pay taxes to the port to make it strong, and it is it's an awesome benefit to the community if used properly, and in this case, it's becoming a threat to the community. And so, even if this terminal is turned down by the governor, this is a 6-year term.
They'll just come right back.
You
say they'll just come right back.
There'll be something else. They may change this. There will likely be lawsuits and so on and so forth. In the Pacific Northwest, we faced proposals to have oil and coal and gas.
LNG,
Yeah, these have nothing for the city of Vancouver, nothing but risk. And Vancouver's a vibrant place. We've got over 100 small businesses like mine that have signed up in opposition to this oil terminal, because we know that it will threaten the economics that we have. People come to Vancouver and they set up businesses as architects and engineers, and there's a company that just came in that makes a thing that fits in your head. We're looking at advanced manufacturing, 3D printing. There's all sorts of things, and we need to be doing that. We need to be developing things for 21st century jobs.
And something like the was it Tesoro? Is it what they're wanting to put in? That would discourage people from coming in.
It will discourage people. It will cost us more jobs than it can provide. It will threaten what we know as Vancouver. And just to make it clear, Portland doesn't want this. Portland's got a ban on these. Seattle's city council has banned these. They won't be putting these terminals up there. As a matter of fact, the city of Seattle unanimously passed a resolution opposed to our terminal, which I really appreciate, because I think of them as being more concerned about Puget Sound and us being more responsible for the Columbia River. And yes, I do care deeply about the Puget Sound.
Sure,
but this
we're all connected.
We are all connected, but this is our responsibility, and this is one of my supporters lives up the John Day River in eastern Oregon, and that all flows into the Columbia River. This is who we are, and we've been given this as a gift, and we need to pass it on to the next generation, at least in as good a shape as it is. This river doesn't look anything like what it looked like when the first Europeans came down here a couple of hundred years ago. And we owe it to our children and our grandchildren to, at the very least, not damage it further, because it's amazing these things can come back. And if we develop, we can develop things to do better by this river in generations to come, and many of these things.
Sure.
Doing things environmentally properly creates jobs and creates all sorts of. It doesn't create wealth for oil companies.
And that's usually wealth for just a few people up on top. and the shareholders rather than the workers or whoever's involved in it on a lower level. I wanted to get to the point where we know this is Tesoro, and it's going to be receiving oil via trains. And what will
Correct.
they do with this plant?
Well, there's a couple of things to know. One is Tesoro has renamed this operation Vancouver Energy and made it into an LLC that has very little responsibility. So if it blows up and kills a whole bunch of us over in Vancouver, it doesn't come back and hurt the mother corporation. The amount of insurance that they're required to carry is, to me, minuscule, $100 million. Well,
That's not much.
no, if I wanted to have a 1,000-gallon fuel tank at my house, I think they'd want more than $1,000 worth of insurance against environmental disaster. This stuff's right on the bank of the river. It's designed. The plan is to bring this crude oil in from South Dakota and bring it in by train, transfer it into a tank farm just outside of downtown, and then put it onto ships that'll go out across the Columbia Bar. And there's several risks in what I'm talking about.
The Columbia Bar sounds like a risk.
The Columbia Bar is a risk. People tell me in towns that have these things that they stink. And one of the things that I'm understanding, and this is a this whole thing is a huge complex issue, what that our FSEC process is designed to see, which is the siting process for the state of Washington. It's designed to see that this is safe and not going to endanger people. And we keep telling him, yes, it will.
There's no way to guarantee that.
But it is not designed to see that it doesn't stink. So if it stinks, but it can't be proven to be carcinogenic, well, it'll just be Vancouver stinks now.
Mm-hmm.
And
like Albany used to.
Yeah, just exactly. And that may not have,
And
I don't know
Camas.
if that had health threats, but I remember Albany. I know Tacoma.
And Camas.
I know Linton. I know the places where oil is big in California are not places you want to live.
Mm-hmm.
And
your property values go to hell.
Yeah, when you put it in the economic terms, it's a bad idea.
Mm-hmm.
When you put it in human terms, what we're doing when we dig this stuff out of the ground and want to run it down the river, and so, we're borrowing against our children. We're borrowing against the future generations, and it ain't right.
Mm-hmm.
And we're actually endangering their ability to even exist, let alone have something as beautiful as we have here today.
Mm-hmm. And like you're saying, you want to concentrate on Vancouver, which is a good way to take care of it. But at the same time, what is going to be happening to and through Vancouver will affect the world.
It does. And I guess what I'm asking for people's support. And I'm running for port, and it's a tough one. And I'm going to go up against oil company money. And I know that. And one of the things that I'd like to say my website, if that's okay.
Oh yeah, I meant to get that. Oh, do we already have it up there? Yeah, there it is. DonOrange.com.
Oh yeah, DonOrange.com. I'll ask people if they will go there, and there's a little endorse button that says you endorse Don Orange. You don't have to live in Washington. You don't have to live in the Port District. I'm asking people of my sister that lives in Alabama knows about the effects. She lives in Mobile. She knows all about the effects of oil and water from the BP spill. They don't eat the fish that come out of the Gulf down there. They know about it. Oil has threatened and damaged places that we think of, like Valdez, Alaska. That has not come back. That was 30 years ago. And the small businesses up there, the fishing people and all, they're gone. And the same thing has happened to people down in the Gulf. And the same thing can happen. We could have disasters in Vancouver.
And we know it will happen somewhere.
It's going to happen just as sure as you run 500 tank cars a day continuously. There's issues on the railroad. and if no matter what happens, I think nobody ever thought that what happened at Fukushima could happen as horribly as it did in meltdown plants. And my understanding is that there's radiation that's come clear across the ocean from Fukushima, and it was a series of things that went wrong. We have an earthquake due
anytime.
and if you think about having a bunch of trains lined up in Vancouver waiting to come into this facility, whether they can build this facility properly and all the piping and all to withstand this earthquake, which is a bigger earthquake than has hit before that I'm aware of. I don't know anybody that even starts to think that the railroad is designed to withstand a major earthquake, and there'll be trains in the river.
You know, like I'm always saying, if you build it, it will leak. Like thinking more about pipelines, but you know, there too, and you're talking about a bad scenario there, which you know is horrible to think about. But even in the best case scenario, it never leaks and it's built and all that. There's still so many things wrong with the idea. Whether it's right or whether it works or it doesn't work. It doesn't work for the people of the planet or the rest of the life on the planet.
And to bring it just a little bit closer to home, I was raised on this side of on the Portland side of the Columbia River, and I have lived the last 30 years or so on the north side of the Columbia River in Vancouver. This is our local responsibility. This is our river. This is our piece of the planet to stand up for. And I would ask people on both sides of the river to pay serious, close attention. We're in interesting times, and I'm involved in politics, and this is absolutely a political issue. I'm asking people to take, and we have collected hundreds of thousands of signatures and taken to the governor and asking him to attend to this. One of the neatest things that we have hearings over in Vancouver, and there's community people that come out over and over and over again. And one of the really nice things is we get people from Portland who come over, and this is a threat to Portland, this is a threat to Vancouver.
And everything down below, all the way to Astoria.
Everything up above and everything down below.
There you go, right.
And the fish that I talked about that go up the John Day River, they come right through Portland and Vancouver, and if we damage this, it affects them. It affects working folks. It is bad, and I'd urge people to take a look at the Riverkeepers website. I'd urge them to take a look at my website.
Sierra Club's got a good.
Sierra Club, one of the neatest guys we have over in Vancouver. There's a fellow named Don Steinke, and he's with the Sierra Club, and he comes to meeting after meeting after meeting. He's probably 70 years old, and this is about being good to our planet, being good to our community, and I would urge people to get involved.
So you are running for this Port of Vancouver Commissioner, which is that the whole city of Vancouver, city limits?
It's more than the city of Vancouver. It's over 300,000 people. Okay. It's most of the people that live in Clark County.
All right.
It's about 2/3 of the people who live. It's more than 2/3 of the people who live in Clark County, and this thing is either going to flip to a hard right, pro oil terminal, conservative, or I'm going to win it. And right now, we have flipped one of these seats. We elected Eric LeBrant 2 years ago, and it was a movement of people that got out there and knocked on doors and made telephone calls and fought and told the story of what we want Vancouver to look like. There's only 3 commissioners. So either the thing is going to take a hard right turn, or it's going to take a progressive turn. And we're going to be looking for for clean businesses that will enhance Vancouver.
So
And-
what you're saying is that the other two, are they running for election too, or just the one that,
These are 6-year terms.
so the only one of them is.
Right. And so it will be, either it's going to take a hard right turn, the other fellow's a conservative Republican.
That's running against you?
Yep, he's conservative Republican.
So I take it
He's
it's 1 to
very
1.
proud, and it's a very clear. I'll lay this out for you. On the 3rd of June, we had the anniversary of the train wreck in Mosier, Oregon.
Mosier.
It threatened the town. It blew up
Mm-hmm.
a block from the elementary school.
We're going to talk about that a lot next.
Okay. Well,
But
on,
still.
on the 3rd of June, I was in Mosier with the people of Mosier paying attention to this, and it's the first anniversary. And fortunately, they got through it. And we had Native American people from up and down the gorge that know about that will be affected, and this comes across their land and so on. My opponent went up to the Tesoro plant at Anacortes, where they have a dreadful safety record, where they.
I've heard that.
Well, 7 workers went to work in their cars in the morning. They went home in body bags. It's not. Tesoro likes to talk about their record as if it's big and clean, and it's not. And they've been fined millions and millions of dollars for serial violations. They're kind of the Volkswagen of the oil companies. They know how to beat the rules.
Well, it's cheaper for them to go ahead and pay the fines than it is to fix what the problem is, and that is the problem with our low penalties that we put on them.
Well, and the thing is that they keep operating. Nobody went to jail for that.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody got the plant's still operating. I think it's shut down for a period, but it's back up and going.
What do they think they are, Wall Street?
And if they seriously damage the Columbia River and or Vancouver or what have you, the plant's not going to get shut down. They'll put it back together and put it back up and go once they've.
Mm-hmm.
And it's our job as citizens of Vancouver to stand up.
Mm-hmm. And not just as Vancouver, like you said, we can get your we're running out of time here. We get your website up again, and you're saying anybody anywhere can
go on there and endorse,
there.
and if people want to, they can come over and volunteer. They can help us out. What goes on in Portland goes to Vancouver. What goes on, we all share the same air. Mm-hmm. We absolutely share the same river. Dan is a wonderful friend of Vancouver and comes over and helps us with these. He lives here in town.
Sure. Well, you know, it strikes me that you're talking if something happened to that, it wouldn't only affect poison the water or whatever like that. It will interfere with the shipping. I think 15% of the grain that comes to the world comes through the Columbia River. It would affect that possibly. The transportation. It would affect a lot more than just what we've talked up to at this point.
Well, the worst one of these train wrecks killed 47 people in downtown.
Lac Megantic or something.
You know the place.
It took me a long time to remember that one.
You're good. But this is dangerous stuff. The people that I talk to from the railroad, I'm related to people with the railroad and what have you. The off-the-record story is this is just like hauling gasoline, and they won't haul gasoline. This is just as explosive and as dangerous and as threatening. You talk about it's going to be. Yes, it is a serious. The crashes would be a serious economic impact on Vancouver, on Portland. You know, you talk about the grain, but any shipping that goes on in this river, it'd be serious economic, but it's also a serious danger.
Mm-hmm. And it's not one that just it goes over with really quick, even though the media doesn't want to talk about what goes on other than some exposés every few months in the Gulf or in Exxon. That is an ongoing problem, and they could cover it every day, actually.
Well, it's time to move on. Where I grew up in Portland and in the area where I work in Vancouver, we have little anchors to tie your horse up on the curb. And that's what was going on 100 years ago when the curbs were put in. And we've been 100 years burning oil furiously, and it's time to move on and seek the alternatives that will allow our children and grandchildren to live. You're talking to somebody that makes his living fixing cars. I'm a pragmatist. We need to put in the things that work. We need to encourage the industry that will bring us the 21st century alternatives to digging stuff out of the ground constantly and burning it and then watching the polar ice caps melt. So.
Well, you're just making a heck of a case for yourself. Here we're down to about a minute. I was going to say, anything to sum up, but you pretty much summed
I will
up.
sum up.
You've summed up the whole time here.
Please
do.
If people want to help, please go to donorange.com. I'm not much of a politician, but this is critically important. We need people to get out there and vote. We need everybody to get out there and vote on both sides of the river.
Sure.
We need to take our country back.
And people who are watching in Portland, people that live in Vancouver, because this is like there's a river between us, but it's not like it keeps people from moving back and forth and having friends back and forth. Get a hold of folks that are over there on the other side that and let them know that this is going on, and we can encourage people to stand up.
May I give you a little tagline so that your listeners might remember me?
Oh,
I'm Don Orange, the guy with appeal.
Guy with appeal. I love that.
You can spell it any way you please.
All
but
right.
The truth of the matter is, folks have to remember who it is that is running that's against the oil terminal and for clean government in 4 months. And I throw that out just to help people remember, help people laugh a little bit and remember it.
I meant to ask the votes in 4 months.
Yes.
Oh,
it's,
all right.
I believe it's the 1st of November. It's the first Tuesday in November.
All right. Well, Don, thank you for coming on.
Thanks, Jim.